Remember the opening scene to the amazing Nick Cage movie Lord of War? The one where you would follow the life of a bullet from its birth in a factory to its shipment from the Soviet Union to the jungles of Africa? When I watched that, I was mesmerized. Almost all of our material goods make a similar journey, from the extraction of raw materials found in the earth, to their production in a factory most likely somewhere in Asia, to the retail store that you or I can head down the street. Hello everyone, Thought Monkey here. Today we're going to journey around the world and discover why all of our stuff comes from places like China. The last time you looked at your t-shirt tag, you probably noticed that it was made in China, or Bangladesh, or Pakistan, or wherever. You get the point. But have you stopped to ask yourself why they never say England or France or the US? Well, as most of us probably already know, it has to do with cost. But that's only one part of the story. A while back, I read an interesting article on NPR that talked about the journey of a t-shirt. In their investigations, they found that the cotton for most t-shirts are grown in either China, India, or surprisingly, the United States, in places like Texas. If the cotton is grown in the US, it is then shipped over 7,000 miles to China or India, where the milling process begins, which transforms the plant cotton into yarn or sheets. From there, it is shipped another 1,800 miles to Bangladesh, where it is sewn into shirts by workers who are paid as little as $40 a month in super sketchy conditions. In 2013, for example, a factory in Bangladesh collapsed and killed over 1,000 garment workers. Most popular clothing companies like Gap, Walmart, Target, and well, pretty much every store you can think of, rely heavily on suppliers from this region. When sewn, the shirts are then shipped another 8,000 miles back to the US, where they are then delivered to retailers, folded neatly by workers who are paid whatever the minimum wage in your city is and sold for 20 bucks a pop. The estimated miles traveled for any given t-shirt from cotton farm to retail store, about 16,000 miles. 20 bucks for an item that has seen more of the world than you or I have? Not bad. But why does this happen, and how is it a viable economic model? During the 19th century, the process of industrialization began, which was basically the time when everyday household items became easier to make with the use of machines and standardization, and allowed the prices of items to decrease, making it more affordable for the public to buy. Along with this, there was a transportation revolution with the invention of the steam engine, making shipping using boats or trains much cheaper. At the same time, Europeans were busy conquering the world, which had the very sometimes unwanted effect of integrating parts of the world with other parts of the world. But nonetheless, it happened, and here we are. Because of this, more and more nations began to embrace international trade while at the same time vigorously competing with each other to gain economic and military dominance over one another and their colonies. Eventually, this competition grew to a tipping point and World War I happened. Then World War II happened, then the Cold War. Finally, after the Cold War, when most major governments decided to just chill the f*** out, a period of rapid globalization happened. But it was really after the agreements made by the international community after World War II that laid the foundation to the kind of globalization that we know and either love or hate or have no opinion about today. Most countries agreed to an international monetary policy which basically made it easier for countries to trade with each other by either eliminating or reducing taxes. This led to other economic agreements between the international community and eventually the World Trade Organization, which currently provides a system for countries to make trade agreements with one another. There are also other bilateral agreements between countries. For example, the US and South Korea has a free trade agreement which eliminates 95% of taxes between the countries, or NAFTA between Canada, Mexico, and the US, which probably has ruined the lives of millions of poor corn farmers in Mexico, but that's a story for another time. Technology such as planes and shit has also helped speed up globalization. Oh, and the standardized shipping container that can be seen on freight ships around the world was invented in 1956, making it super easy for boats to load and unload stuff. When the internet came out, CEOs could also Skype with powerful politicians around the world and set up agreements on how to best take advantage of their constituents in China and India and other places that don't care too much about basic human rights. So why is this a viable economic model? Why can't we just make our khakis in our own developed countries? The answer is kind of simple. Obviously, other countries pay their workers dog shit, but they also can treat them like dog shit. In one story, a boss at Foxconn, a tech manufacturing company, woke up an 8,000 dorm residing crew in the middle of the night to start 12-hour shifts in order to pump out 10,000 iPhones in 96 hours. Basically, it's easy to take advantage of laborers in developing countries, whereas in the US we throw a hissy fit when our boss asks us politely to cover for someone and has to pay us time and a half to do it. This economic model has been termed neoliberalism, which is a fancy word for a system of economics that chooses profit over people. In the end, harvesting cotton from Texas, shipping it to China, then to Bangladesh, and then back to some mall in Texas is cheaper due to industrialization, low or no taxes between countries, and cheap labor. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up below and subscribe to stay updated with my latest Thought Monkey content.